Hi, everyone. I'm here with author Carole Giangrande, and I am so excited to share her with you. She is one of our brand new authors at Pandamonium Publishing House, and she is the author of The Laundromat Cat, which is
Yes.
the book that just came out for kids, and it is absolutely phenomenal. Hi, Carole. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Lacey. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks so much for being on here and for chatting to our readers about your picture book. And I can't wait for them to get to know you. So, we're going to talk about you, we're going to talk about the book, and a couple of things in between. So, if you could introducing you're a published author previously, and you have some pretty impressive titles. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I seem to go all over the map with my writing. Um, Someone in my family said to me, Carole, with you, it's either kindergarten or college, right? I mean, my mind works that way. I write very, very serious adult literature. And every now and again, I just really need a break. So we get things like The Laundromat Cat. Now, that story, I used to have a cat. I loved my little black and white kitty, but I developed an allergy, which only made me, well, of course, I had to give the cat to a good home, but I just became obsessed with cats after that. And every time I see a cat, I go, oh, So years ago, I was just walking down the street and I had this image of a cat that was white and was in the bed sheets in the laundromat. And I thought, wait a minute, this is weird. But, I have to say that when you write, it doesn't matter whether it's for kids or for adults, the images for me come the same way. They will just show up and then you say, what's that? And then you want to follow it through. And that's what happened with The Laundromat Cat. But that one started a long time ago. It's quite a few years ago. And it never let go. So I'm glad I wrote that book.
Me too.
That's
I'm
part of
glad that you wrote it, and I love
it.
cats as well. And I think that, that's one of the things that kind of let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. That contact this publisher if you have a cat book. She's not going to say no. So, but so you are originally from New York City, is that correct?
Yeah, originally I was born there or raised there until I was about 6 or so, and then we moved out to the suburbs. But we were always very close to New York City because I had a lot of family in the Bronx area of New York, and so we were always going in to visit and so on. And gradually, though, I wanted to leave home. We were at that point living in New Rochelle, which is a suburb, Larchmont Woods, New Rochelle, New York, if you've ever heard of it. And I wanted to leave home, and so I thought, oh, the nearest foreign country is Canada, yay! And I came to go to U of T, and I loved it, and I stayed and made a lot of friends. And my husband, as it turns out, is from upstate New York, but he's been here for a long time too. So there you go.
Wow, that's great. We're so glad that you're here. And you know what? New York is one of my favorite cities ever. I
Oh yeah.
haven't been back for a while, but you're in Toronto now. So it's kind of like this, not the same hustle and bustle, but it's a major city. So that's really nice to kind of
Yeah,
translate.
it's changed a lot.
Yeah, transplant yourself into somewhere that's just as, busy. So I'm really excited to talk about the Laundromat Cat and what you hope readers get from it. So could you tell
Well,
us, yeah, the overall theme of what you wanted the reader to get out of the story and who it's for specifically?
well, this it's really for very young kids, say from about 3 to 7 years old, depending on their listening level and so on. But I wanted them to, there's a conflict in the story, but I wanted them to understand that that things can be like people who are look like enemies or animals like cats and mice can be friends, and that things can be worked out, and that in a way, it was just, that there's that scene in the story where they're both in the washing machine, and of course, Sudsy realizes that they're both going to drown if they don't cooperate. So out they had to, then little Whiskers the mouse had to grab onto Sudsy and jump out of the laundromat and out of the laundry machine and try to get to safety. And I just wanted kids, there's a necessary tension and conflict, and there's a crisis, but also that there's friendship in the end, and things work out well for them. And I also like it that there's a little bit of a chase in there and a little bit of an adventure, and there's some excitement for the kids.
Definitely. I absolutely agree. And it's such a great book. The illustrations are done by Yui Huang, and she came to us through Sheridan, and she was one of our students this year that co-opted with us. What do you think of the illustrations?
Oh God, I love them. I love them. The very first time you sent me a sketch of a mouse or something, I thought, oh, she got it. Oh yes. I think they're just so perfect, and they're so whimsical, they're gentle, and they're funny, and they're expressive. The expressions, that there's a one picture where the laundry lady is looking at Sudsy the cat, and the feeling that's going between the two of them, it's really wonderful. It's kind and loving, and yeah, it's a beautiful job on it. I think she's a genius.
Yeah,
You can
I
tell her I
agree.
said so too.
I will. She'll probably see this. So yeah, you told her for sure. So let's go back to you writing for different genres and different age groups. Can you tell us your favorite novel that you've written so far? And maybe if you have any other upcoming projects in the works?
Oh, well, let's see. I would say it's a kind of a draw, but between two books that are related to each other. But the first one is called All That Is Solid Melts into Air. And the reason I liked it so much, it was it really required a lot of discipline to write. I've always wanted to write a book that took place in one day, and it did. And the thing was, the day happens to be 9/11, but it took place not in the United States, but on the French island of Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon, which is not far from Newfoundland. And what I liked about this book also was that everything was so compressed, and it required such a lot of thinking to get things to work. And it was just, in some ways, it reminded me of, or certainly reminded my publisher of a book by Virginia Woolf called Mrs. Dalloway, because there's a party. I don't know if you know that book, but there's a whole story about a woman who's giving this incredible party, and something like that runs through this book. That there's a party that's about to happen, but all sorts of strange things happen. Like some of the symbols that Virginia Woolf used, I borrowed them, but I used them very differently. So I loved it because it was so literary, and it was it really was. It also sort of got me out of a bad. It was such a depressing and horrible event that happened all those years ago, and it was really good to write a story that took me out of that. So that was probably my favorite. And as for at the moment, the next thing I have coming out is a collection of poetry. That's going to be in 2024, I think. But I also have a novella making the rounds, and I think I'm getting some good reaction from it. So I'm hoping that I'll have a publisher soon. And that will be a shorter sort of novel, but good.
Yeah. Very, very good. That's amazing. And how long have you been writing for, Carole?
I started when I was about 10 years old. No, really. See, as an adult, I mean, I kept diaries and journals, and unfortunately, I still have them all, more or less. I mean, while I was, not every year of my life, but I did a lot of writing as a very young person. But I started writing seriously, I would say, in my 20s, and I published poetry in various little magazines. But I also went to work for CBC Radio. I started out freelance, and then had a position on the noon show as a commentator. And so I did a lot of broadcast writing, but I really longed to write something a little bit longer and meatier. And I finally did have an opportunity to do that. So, but my career in broadcasting was wonderfully helpful for writing, because you learn about dialogue, because I interviewed people all the time, and I listened to the way they talked, and it was a terrific experience just to appreciate how people actually said things. And dialogue is one of the hardest things for people to write when they're writing fiction. But I didn't have that much trouble. It was a good experience.
My authors right now are laughing because I always tell them that's not how people talk. So if they're watching this, see, I told you. But yeah, that's great how your career helped you with your writing. And did you always want to be an author? Was this just something that kind of came up over the years? Because you said you started writing when you were around 10 years old. So did you always kind of know, or was it something newer?
I think I always kind of knew, because it kept on coming into my mind in one way or another. Oh, I want to be a poet. Oh, I want to write the scripts for movies, or I want to write, I didn't think I'd ever be that kind of person who would write a novel. I just couldn't imagine it, but I've written 4 of them, so, and a couple of novellas. So there you go.
That's amazing. That's fabulous. And
turns out, but not the way you expected.
That's right. And you're an award-winning author. I just looked at your bio again, so let's talk about that. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, let's see. Both of my most recent novels, the one I told you about, All That Is Solid Melts Into Air, and The Tender Birds, which is something of a sequel, they both won medals in the Independent Authors. I never remember the whole name. They called them IPPEs, Independent Publishers Awards. And All That Is Solid won a gold medal, and Tender Birds won a silver medal. So I was really proud of that. Actually, I went to New York for the ceremony. It was really fun. And,
wow.
Yeah, it was totally cool. And what else? My novella, A Gardener on the Moon, won the Ken Klonsky Prize, which involved publication by Quattro Books, and I was really happy with that. They did a wonderful job. And
awesome.
I've been, one of my essays was nominated for a Pushcart Prize, which is very, very nice. There's something about Pushcart Prizes. I mean, they end up in a big anthology of stories and essays and such, but it seems that even if you get nominated for one, people think it's cool. So I always write, I was nominated for a Pushcart Prize.
Amazing. So that's fabulous. So do you think that you'll write some more children's books, or do you have kind of any ideas that you have kind of in your back pocket that you're going to be saving, maybe, to develop later? Or do you think that you would rather, I know that you said you needed a break kind of from the novels and that kind of content and amount of words and number of words and the length of things, but do you find that you have any ideas for upcoming children's stories that you're going to kind of develop, or is it more based on how much time you have? Do you ever, I guess what I'm saying is, do you ever write in between when you're doing your novels, and do you have children's books that are kind of in your back pocket at the moment?
Yeah, I do. In fact, if I feel I need a break, I can switch from one thing to the other, which is really, it's kind of nice. It's a little crazy, but I do have a couple of ideas that I hope I can get around to developing. And I just think it's so much fun to try to get into the mind of a child. And things that are so small to us are so big to them. They just, like, the first kids book I wrote was called Do I Have to Go to Sleep? I don't know if I'll have to show it to you. It's a bear story, and it's and it's and it's about, of course, it's about a baby bear who's afraid to go to sleep and doesn't want to hibernate. So,
I love that idea.
It really worked. I was just so pleased with that one. But it's amazing because we don't, how many. When was the last time you got afraid to go to sleep? I mean, most of us will crash at any moment. But little children,
probably like the 90s. Oh wait, the last time I slept well was in utero.
Oh gee.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's the life of the publisher.
Oh gee.
So with the Laundromat Cat, we can get Carole's book on Amazon. We can get it at pandamoniumpublishing.com. And we are also doing Barnes and Noble and Indigo and Chapters and all of those things. And in the spring, we hope to have Carole in store doing signings where she can meet her readers. So do you do school visits and all of those kind of things?
I'd be happy to do.
Yeah, yeah. So I find that when authors go in
a while, but I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I find that when authors go into schools to read to the kids, they get asked, you know, the most honest and funny questions. And, you know, they're just completely filter free, which I think is fantastic. And I was reading this to my niece and she said to me, so the cat and the mouse were in the washing machine. And I said, yeah. And she goes, are there cat and mice in every washing machine? And I said, no. Oh. Yeah, she checked hers and there's no cat or mouse in there. So that was a good thing. But yeah, every child that I've had that have, you know, I've been able to read your book to has absolutely loved it. They love the illustrations and the story is so fantastic. So I hope that you will check this out. The Laundromat Cat by Carole Giangrande and illustrated by Yui Hong. Check out the back of this where it has Find the Mouse. And you have this little 3 ways of going into this maze to get to the mouse, and the answer is in the back. So that's exciting too. And we're so happy that you joined our team. And thank you so much for being here today to talk about your book and to just share your information. Do you have a website where our followers can get in touch with you?
Yes, I do. It's carolegiangrande.com. Now I will have to spell it. CAROLEGIANGRANDE.com.
Perfect. I will put up a link. We'll put up a link.
Much easier than asking people to write it down.
And for your social media, we'll put up links to that as well. And of course, links to Carole's book. So again, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure chatting with you. And everybody has really been enjoying your book. So I can't wait to get you into stores and doing signings in the spring and a whole bunch of other things before that. So thanks for being here, Carole.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to chat with you. And I know that our readers are excited to, you know, meet our real authors in person over Zoom. Because that's the thing that I get from kids a lot. Like, you're actually the person who wrote the book.
Oh, yes.
So that's a really cool thing. And you know what? Kids can't see what they can't be. So by showing them that they can be authors or they can be illustrators or publishers, it just lends them new ideas of what they can do when they grow up. And I really appreciate the story and everything that you've put into this book. So thank you, Carole, and I will chat with you again soon. I'm going to put up the links of where you can get Carole's book and where you can follow her online and where you can find her website. So we will be back again with another author next time, but thanks so much for joining us today at Pandamonium Publishing House.
Bye-bye.
Bye.